Jack Sparrow would not survive real piracy because he was the best swordsman in the room. He would survive because he knew the first rule of crime at sea: do not fight unless the other man already thinks he has lost. That is the part the movie almost accidentally gets right. Not the cursed gold, not the skeleton pirates, not the perfect eyeliner after 3 days in a jail cell, not the compass that points to your desire. That is pure fantasy, and everybody knows it. But the instincts under all that madness are weirdly real. Lie first, smile second, make the enemy guess, make your name do work before your cannon fires. Run when the fight is stupid, make a deal when the rope is already around your neck. Betray first when the system is already breaking. That is not fairy tale pirate thinking. That is survival thinking. Now let us strip away the Disney magic and ask the ugly question. If Jack Sparrow walked onto a real pirate ship in the Caribbean in the early 1700s, would the crew follow him, or would the crew vote him out before breakfast? Pirates of the Caribbean: The Curse of the Black Pearl hit theaters in July 9, 2003. It turned Jack Sparrow into the pirate most people picture first, not Blackbeard, not Bartholomew Roberts, not Henry Every, a drunk-looking man in a red bandana who walks into disaster and somehow walks out with a ship. But real pirates were not theme park rebels with perfect timing. They were working criminals in a hard business. They lived on ships that rotted under their feet. They chased cargo, they counted water, they argued over shares, they needed carpenters, they needed surgeons, they needed gunpowder that stayed dry. They needed discipline because the ocean did not care how charming the captain was. That is the first thing people get wrong. A pirate ship was not freedom in a loose shirt. It was a floating company of armed, desperate men. The pay was loot. The boss could be replaced. The rules were written down. The punishments could be brutal. The captain had power in battle and chase. Outside that he was watched, shot, questioned, sometimes removed. So when Jack Sparrow says he is captain, a real crew would ask one very simple question. Captain of what exactly? Because in real life, a pirate captain without a ship was not mysterious. He was unemployed. And Jack starts the first movie sailing into Port Royal on a sinking boat. Great entrance. Terrible resume. Still, there is something real hiding inside the joke. Jack knows that appearance is a weapon. He arrives looking harmless until he is not. He plays weak. He plays drunk. He plays confused. Then he reads the room faster than everybody else. That was not stupid. That was a pirate skill. Real pirates did not want fair fights. A fair fight could smash your rigging, kill your gunner, punch holes through the hull, burn your powder, ruin the cargo, turn a profitable raid into a funeral. The best prize was not the ship you destroyed. The best prize was the ship that surrendered. That is why reputation mattered so much. A flag was not decoration. A name was not branding for tourists. It was pressure. When a merchant crew saw a black flag, when the captain heard the name of a cruel pirate, when the deck filled with armed men screaming and waving pistols, the message was simple. Hand over the cargo, and maybe you live. Fight and the rules change. That is where Jack Sparrow feels closer to history than he should. He understands that fear can move faster than cannon shot. Blackbeard did this for real. His career was short, about 1716 to 1718. But his image became enormous because he built fear on purpose. The burning fuses, the beard, the pistols, the theatrical hell-raising. He was not just trying to look cool. He was trying to make the other crew surrender before blood touched the deck. That is real pirate logic. If Jack walks into a tavern and lets everyone believe he is worse than he is, that works. If he talks a guard into confusion, that works. If he uses a famous name to open a door, that works. If he lets people underestimate him because he looks half broken, that works too. Piracy was not only muscle, it was acting under pressure. And Jack is always acting. He lies with his whole body. He never gives a clean answer. He stalls. He changes tone. He makes the other person work harder than him. He turns a threat into a negotiation. He turns a negotiation into an escape. He turns an escape into a theft. That is not madness. That is practical crime. A real pirate might hate him and still admit the man has a gift. The problem is what happens after the trick works, because a pirate crew did not live on clever talk. A crew lived on fresh water, food, repairs, ammunition, safe anchorages, a working hull, a plan to sell stolen goods, a way to avoid the Royal Navy, a way to keep men from stabbing each other over rum and cards. Jack is amazing in a doorway. Jack is dangerous in a prison cell. Jack is brilliant when everything is already falling apart. But running a ship is not one endless escape scene. That is where pure madness begins. The real captain had to produce results, not vibes, not legends. Results. Bartholomew Roberts did not become feared because he mumbled pretty lines. He took hundreds of ships in only a few years. His crew could forgive strict rules because strict rules brought prizes. Blackbeard could scare the coast because he had men. Guns, ships, a reputation that made merchants fold. A captain who lost ships over and over. A captain who dragged his crew into personal grudges. A captain who risked the whole company for a private joke. That captain would not stay captain for long. The crew would not sit around saying, "That is just Jack." The crew would say, "Where is the money?" That is the cold part the movies ignore. A pirate crew was not a fan club. It was a dangerous workplace with stolen payroll. Men joined because merchant service and naval service could be miserable. They wanted shares. They wanted food. They wanted revenge on a brutal system sometimes. But mostly they wanted a better chance than starving under a legal captain who could beat them and pay them badly. So a pirate captain had to keep the bargain alive, find prizes, avoid useless danger. Keep the ship moving, respect the articles, do not cheat the shares, do not hoard food, do not make the whole crew pay for your private drama. Jack breaks that bargain all the time. He makes sense as a lone survivor. He makes less sense as a stable captain. That is why the best real version of Jack is not Jack the commander. It is Jack the operator, the fixer, the con artist, the man you send into a port when you need a lie told cleanly, the man who can steal a key without starting a war, the man who can talk for 30 seconds while another sailor cuts the rope. On a real ship, he would be useful, but only inside limits. A quartermaster would watch him closely. That part matters because many pirate ships had a captain and a quartermaster. The captain was powerful during chase and battle. The quartermaster handled loot, food discipline, complaints. The quartermaster represented the crew. He was the man who could stop the captain from acting like a little king. That is the system Jack would hate. Imagine Jack Sparrow trying to explain why he traded 3 barrels of water and 2 bags of shot for a compass that points to feelings. The quartermaster would stare at him. The crew would stare at him. Somebody near the mast would say vote. And now Jack has a problem, because real pirates did not have infinite patience for mysterious genius. If the genius brought treasure, fine. If the genius brought jail, hunger, leaks, and a Navy frigate on the horizon, the genius was finished. This is the real test. What did Jack Sparrow get right? First, he avoids direct combat when he can. This is very real. In the films, Jack often does not want the heroic fight. He wants the exit. He wants the deal. He wants the enemy pointed at somebody else. The classic movie hero charges. Jack tries the side door. A real pirate would respect that more than a clean sword duel. Sword fights look great on screen. But real boarding was filthy and quick smoke, noise, splinters, pistols that might misfire, blades in cramped space, men slipping on wet decks. One bad step and you are done. There is nothing romantic about fighting on a wooden deck with broken rigging falling around you. So yes, Jack running away is not cowardice by pirate standards. It can be good math. If you can get the prize without battle, take the prize without battle. If you can escape the fort without a body count, let's. If you can make the enemy argue with himself, let him. That is why his Port Royal jail escape energy feels more believable than a big heroic speech. Real pirates were not looking for fair honor. They were looking for advantage. Second, Jack understands reputation. He keeps saying Captain Jack Sparrow because the title is part of the trick. It is annoying, it is funny, it is also useful. Names mattered: Blackbeard, Blackbeard Roberts, Calico Jack Rackham, Charles Vane, Annie Bonnie Mary Red. These names carried stories. Some stories were exaggerated. Some came from trials. Some came from newspapers. Some came from sailors who needed a reason for why they surrendered. But the story still did work. A terrifying name could soften a target before the chase even started. A famous flag could save powder. A rumor could be cheaper than a broadside. Jack gets this. He treats his own legend as a tool, even when he has nothing. He speaks like he has options. He acts like there is a plan. He lets people believe that some secret card is still in his sleeve. In real piracy, that kind of confidence could matter. A merchant captain in the Caribbean near Nassau or Jamaica did not always know what was coming over the horizon. He saw sails. He saw speed. He saw armed men. He knew his own crew might not want to die for insured cargo. If the pirate captain sounded certain and the pirate ship looked hungry, the fight might end before it started. That is the cleanest kind of victory for a pirate. Third, Jack understands the value of negotiation. People picture pirates only shouting and swinging blades. But deals were everywhere. Pirates needed fences who could move stolen goods. They needed governors who looked away. They needed corrupt merchants. They needed supplies. They needed information. They needed safe places to careen a ship and scrape the hull. They needed water. A pirate who could not negotiate was trapped. Jack negotiates constantly. With soldiers, with enemies, with women who are smarter than him, with monsters. With crews who should probably shoot him. He is shameless because shame has no use in his job. That part is real. A pirate could threaten 1 minute and bargain the next. He could terrify a crew and then recruit some of its sailors. He could steal from one port and buy from another. He could accept a pardon if the Navy pressure got too hot and then go back to sea when the money ran out. Nassau in the Bahamas was full of this messy world. In the early 1700s, it became a pirate haven because the location worked. It sat near shipping lanes. It had shallow waters. It gave small, fast vessels room to move. Pirates could reach the Florida Straits, the Bahama Banks, Cuba, Jamaica, the Carolinas. Picture the route. A pirate sloop leaves Nassau before sunrise. It slides northwest through shallow Bahama water. It does not sail straight at the biggest warship it can find because that would be stupid. It waits near the path of merchant traffic moving between the Caribbean and the North American coast. It watches. It chooses the soft target, a slow merchantman, a tired crew, a captain who would rather lose cargo than lose men. That is piracy as a business. Jack at his best understands that he picks pressure points. He does not always pick battles. Fourth, Jack understands betrayal. This sounds ugly because it is ugly. But real piracy lived inside broken loyalty. Many pirates were former privateers. During war, they could attack enemy shipping with legal papers. Then peace came and the work dried up. Some men kept attacking without permission. Others shifted sides. Some took pardons. Some betrayed old partners. Some became pirate hunters. In 1718, Woodes Rogers arrived in the Bahamas as royal governor and offered pardons to pirates who would surrender. Some accepted. Some refused. Charles Vane famously resisted and ran. That moment shows the real world behind the fantasy. Pirates were not one happy brotherhood. They were men under pressure. Men with prices on their heads. Men trying to guess which side would keep them alive. Jack betrays because he assumes everyone else is already making a move. That is not noble. It is not friendship. But it is believable in a world where the rope is waiting at the end of the road. The movie makes betrayal charming. Real betrayal could end with a man marooned, hanged, or handed over for reward. But the instinct is real. Fifth, Jack knows escape is valuable. This might be the most realistic thing about him. In a world where captured pirates could hang, survival was not a small victory. It was the whole game. A real pirate did not need to win every fight. He needed to not die today. He needed to slip out before the Navy closed the harbor. He needed to leave before the governor changed mood. He needed to run before the crew voted in another captain. Jack survives because he treats every room as temporary. No prison is final, no deals is sacred, no plan is finished. That is exhausting to watch and worse to live with, but it keeps him breathing. And for a pirate, breathing tomorrow meant another chance at a prize. Now let us talk about the madness, because the movies ask us to love Jack so much that we sometimes forget what it would be like to depend on him. Imagine you are not Will Turner. You are not Elizabeth Swann. You are just a deckhand on a pirate ship. You have one shirt, 2 knives, blad teeth, a share in the next prize, and a captain who keeps turning the ship around because his personal history is complicated. That gets old fast. You do not care about his destiny. You care about water. That is the first pure madness point. Jack acts like logistics are optional. Real piracy ran on boring details: water casks, salt meat, hard bread tools, rope sailcloth powder, shot, medicine, spare wood, a clean hull, a working pump, enough hands to sail, enough discipline to stand watch. A ship that looked free from the outside was actually a machine that needed constant work. The hull collected growth, the seams leaked, the sails tore, the rigging wore down, the barrels spoiled, the food got foul, rats got into stores, water went bad, disease moved fast in tight spaces. No amount of swagger fixes that. This is where Jack Sparrow becomes dangerous to his own side. A captain can be strange. A captain can be theatrical. A captain can even be half mad if the crew believes the madness leads to profit. But a captain cannot ignore the ship. The ship is the business. The ship is the weapon. The ship is the escape route. Lose the ship and everybody becomes a criminal swimming in open water. Jack loses the Black Pearl more than any real crew would accept. Once is tragedy. Twice is suspicious. After that, the crew starts sharpening arguments. Second madness point. Jack treats the crew as background. Real pirates were not modern employees with human resources and coffee in the break room. But the crew still mattered because the captain needed consent. A pirate ship worked through shared risk and shared reward. The men had articles. They expected shares, they expected injury compensation, they expect some voice in major decisions. This was not democracy in a clean modern way. It was armed democracy, loud, violent, self-interested. But it existed because pirates understood something simple. If everyone has a stake, everyone fights harder. So if Jack keeps making choices that benefit Jack first, the crew has every reason to push back. A real crew would ask, where is our share? Why are we chasing your old enemy? Why are we risking our necks for your compass? Why did we sail into a naval port? Why are we trusting a plan you refuse to explain? And the big one, why are we still broke? That question kills legends. Third madness point, Jack confuses luck with strategy. On screen he survives because the story bends around him. A cannon fires at the right moment. A rope hangs where he needs it. An enemy pauses long enough for one more joke. The sea gives him another chance because the movie wants him back for the sequel. Real life was not that forgiving. A wet pistol fails. A missed tide traps the ship. A bad wind ruins the chase. A splinter blinds the gunner. A fever kills the carpenter. A careless lantern touches powder. A small leak becomes panic at 3 in the morning. Luck mattered. But a captain who depended on luck was gambling with other men's lives. And pirates already had enough danger without a captain turning every week into a stunt. This is the difference between a fun movie pirate and a real captain. A movie pirate survives impossible situations. A real captain avoids impossible situations. That is why Jack is entertaining. But Bartholomew Roberts was terrifying. Roberts had discipline, he had organization, he had a career built on repeated success. He was not just a lucky clown with a sword. Fourth madness point. Jack is too visible. Real pirates needed reputation, but they also needed to disappear. That is the tension. You want merchants to fear your flag. You do not want every naval officer in the Atlantic to know exactly where you drink. A pirate with too much fame becomes a target. Blackbeard proved that. The legend helped him. Then the hunt came. In November 1718, he died in a brutal fight near Ocracoke in North Carolina. His name became immortal. His career was over. That is the trade. Fame helps you steal until fame helps others find you. Jack lives almost entirely through fame. He says the name too often. He walks into places where he should stay hidden. He turns his own face into a wanted poster with legs. Great for cinema, dangerous for survival. A real pirate who kept showing up in major ports with the same outfit and the same attitude would not need a curse to get killed. Some clerk would notice, some soldier would talk, some informant would sell the location. Some old partner would decide the reward looked better than friendship. Fifth madness point. Jack keeps making enemies he does not need. Real pirates already had enough enemies. Governments, navy captains, merchant owners, rival pirates, angry colonial officials, former victims, men inside the crew who felt cheated, men outside the crew who wanted the ship. You did not need to add personal drama every morning. Jack does. He insults people who could help him. He steals from people he might need later. He lies so much that even true statements sound infected. He turns half the Caribbean into a waiting revenge line. That can work for a rogue. It is poison for a commander. A captain needs some level of trust, not soft trust, not friendship circle trust, practical trust. The crew has to believe he will not sell them out for a private advantage the second a better offer appears. With Jack, that belief is hard to keep. A real crew might use him. They might enjoy him for a night. They might laugh when he tricks a governor. But sooner or later, the laughter stops and somebody asks if he is going to get all of them hanged. That is when the vote happens. Now let us put Jack on a real voyage. Say it is 1717. A small pirate vessel is sitting near Nassau. The crew hears that merchant traffic is moving between Jamaica and the Carolinas. The ship needs water and food. The hull needs cleaning soon. The crew has not taken a good prize in weeks. Jack proposes a move, not a frontal attack on Port Royal, not some personal quest into a cursed cave. A real move. Leave Nassau at night. Pass north of Eleuthera. Avoid the bigger naval patrol routes. Watch the channel traffic. Take a small merchant ship that is carrying cloth, sugar, rum tools. Maybe coin if luck behaves. Use the flag late. Chase hard, fire a warning shot. Board only if the target refuses. That plan works. That is the Jack who survives. Now imagine the other Jack. He sails into Port Royal because he wants a personal item. He gets arrested. He uses 3 crewmen as bait. He spends powder on drama. He loses time. The tide turns. A Royal Navy sloop appears off the harbor. The escape depends on a rope, a woman, a dog, and a joke. That plan gets men killed. That is the Jack who gets voted out. Same man, different setting. And that is the honest answer to the title. What did Jack Sparrow get right about real pirates? He got the psychology right. He understood that fear is cheaper than battle. Reputation is a weapon. A confident lie can open a locked door. Authority can be slow. Running away can be smart. Betrayal can be rational when everyone is already compromised. A pirate who survives is not always the strongest man. He is often the man who sees the exit first. What was pure madness? He treated chaos as a substitute for management. It is not. A real pirate ship needed rationing, repairs, water discipline, watch discipline, weapons discipline, a fair enough split of loot, a way to keep the crew invested, a way to avoid the Navy, a captain who could explain why today was worth the risk. Jack often gives the crew magic instead. Magic is not a supply plan. The movies can hide that because every disaster becomes adventure. Real sailors would not experience it that way. A broken mast is not adventure. It is delay. A leaking hull is not tension. It is death coming through wood. No fresh water is not gritty realism. It is the thing that makes men stop obeying. And once men stop obeying, the captain is only a man in a hat. The ship is everything. For a real pirate, the ship is home, weapon, account, daxplan.workplace.courtroom.prison, and coffin if things go wrong. Jack wanting the Black Pearl back makes total sense. A pirate without a ship has nothing but stories. A pirate with a ship has options. This is why the Black Pearl matters more than the treasure sometimes. A chest of gold can be spent. A ship can make more gold. That is real. But again, a ship is not just an object to love. A ship is responsibility. If Jack wants the pearl, he must keep the pearl working. He must keep the crew fed. He must keep the route profitable. He must make the name of the ship feared enough to win surrenders, but not so loud that every hunter closes in. That is the part he struggles with. He wants command without routine. Real command is routine. Wake the watch. Check the horizon. Check the bilge. Check the sail. Count the barrels. Question the prisoner. Guard the powder. Keep the men from drinking themselves useless. Decide whether to chase. Decide when to break off. Decide where to sell. Decide who gets punished. Decide who gets trusted near the helm. That is not cinematic. That is the job. Jack Sparrow is brilliant at crisis. But a ship cannot live in crisis forever. The closest real pirates to Jack were not the strongest brawlers. They were the ones who understood image and opportunity. Blackbeard built a nightmare brand. Roberts built disciplined success. Henry Every became a legend because he captured a huge prize and vanished into rumor. Calico Jack became famous, partly because of the women in his crew and the stories that followed. Charles Vane became known for defiance and violence and refusal to bend. None of them were Jack Sparrow. But pieces of Jack are scattered through that world. The theatrical entrance, the useful lie, the dangerous charm, the obsession with the ship, the need to be remembered, the skill of turning fear into leverage. The madness is that Jack wants all the advantages of piracy with none of the boring costs. He wants the legend without the ledger. Real pirates had ledgers even when the ledgers were just men arguing over shares on a deck. Who gets 1 share? Who gets 2? Who gets extra for losing a limb? Who guarded the prize goods? Who wasted powder? Who stole from the common stock? Who fell asleep on watch? These questions mattered. They kept the floating crime machine from eating itself. Jack would call that tedious. The crew would call it survival. So when people ask if Jack Sparrow is accurate, the honest answer is no. And also yes, in a narrow way, no. He is not an accurate pirate captain, yes. He is an accurate expression of one pirate instinct: survive by making the other man commit first. That is his genius. He makes officers reveal what they want. He makes enemies reveal what they fear. He makes allies reveal what they will trade. He almost never enters a scene with full control. but he often leaves with more information than he had when he walked in. That is why he keeps winning after losing. A real pirate could use that. A real pirate crew could use that. But a real pirate crew would also demand limits. They would say, "Fine Jack, talk us through the gate. Trick the guard to find the weak target. Scare the merchant captain. Get the ship out of harbor. Then sit down and let the quartermaster count the food." That is the version of Jack that might live, the captain version, the myth version, the man who treats the crew as props in his private legend. That version ends badly. Maybe not on day 1, maybe not on day 10, because charisma buys time. A good story buys time. A lucky prize buys a lot of time. But hunger spends that time fast. Picture the final real scene. The ship is anchored off a quiet island in the Bahamas. The water barrels are low. The carpenter says the hull needs careening. The gunner says half the powder is damp. The cook says the meat is turning. The crew has not seen silver in weeks. Jack stands near the rail and starts talking about a brilliant opportunity near Port Royal. Nobody laughs. The quartermaster steps forward. He does not shout. He does not need to. He asks where the prize is. Jack smiles. He says the prize is freedom, destiny, the horizon, the pearl, the chance to live forever in story. The crew waits, because stories do not fill cups. That is the moment where Hollywood Jack and real piracy separate. In the movie, the music rises. Jack gets one more impossible escape. The sea opens, the audience cheers. In real life, the vote begins. And if Jack cannot point to food, water, repairs, and loot, the hat does not save him. That is the brutal truth. Jack Sparrow is a great pirate legend because he captures the part of piracy that people love: the nerve, the lies, the escape, the insult to authority, the grin at the gallows. The idea that one clever criminal can dance through empires and steal back his ship. But real pirates were not kept alive by nerve alone. They were kept alive by crews, rules, fear, boring work, ugly choices, and profit. So what did Jack Sparrow get right? He got the pirate mind right when the blade was already out, and the room was seconds from violence. What was pure madness? Thinking that a pirate crew would keep following a captain whose chaos did not pay. Real pirates could tolerate a lunatic. They could even love one. But only while the lunatic brought prizes. The second the madness stopped feeding the ship, Captain Jack Sparrow would stop being a legend. He would become a problem. And pirate crews had very direct ways of solving problems.